Hello and welcome to the Korean Beauty Show podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Lee, K-beauty expert, long-term resident of Seoul, South Korea, and the founder of Korean beauty brand Jelly Co. Welcome back to the show for another week, and on this episode I wanted to go through in a little bit of detail a question that I get asked a lot, and I know that other people that live in Seoul also get asked a lot. So I have been living in Korea now, in Seoul in particular, for 8 years, and this is actually my second time living here. So technically it has been longer than that. I came to Korea for the first time in 2011, and then I moved back here in 2016. So it's been a while. It's been a very long time, and in that time I have been to countless different skin clinics, dermatologists, estheticians, pretty much more than you could poke a stick at, all over the city. I've spoken to so many different dermatologists, for the show and for just lots of other different things for myself and others. So when it comes to dermatologists in Korea, I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on the situation. Obviously, I am not myself a dermatologist, but I have consulted very widely. I've been to lots of different ones, and some better than others. So when people ask that question, which skin clinic should I go to in Seoul, this can be a little bit of a tricky one to answer, and the reason is that it will depend on whether you can speak Korean or not. So I don't need to do my consultations in English, so I tend to just go for ones that speak Korean, and I search for them in Korean, so I don't tend to end up at the same places that a lot of other foreigners that live here that don't speak Korean do, and that's just because of language. Obviously, if there's a language barrier, you need someone that can speak the same language as you. And there are lots of different clinics here that speak a whole range of different languages: Japanese, Chinese, Russian, Thai. I've seen before clinics advertising in Thai. English, obviously, is another one. So this can be a tricky question to answer for that reason, but I'm going to try and go through some tips that will help you to pick the best one for you. So first things first, in general, I would say avoid any of the ones that are in the really tourist-heavy areas. I'm talking about places like Myeongdong and Hongdae, and that not necessarily because they're no good, it's just that the vibe is very different. They get a lot of foot traffic, and what you will notice when you go there is that it feels more like a factory vibe for a lot of them, that they're just moving through a lot of people. And it's not necessarily that Koreans don't go there, they definitely do. Otherwise the clinics probably wouldn't stay in business if they were only relying on tourists. But they do have a very different vibe. You're not going to get, in a lot of cases, that same level of consultation with the doctor or that one-on-one FaceTime. Like, you may not even get to speak to the doctor before you're in front of them for whatever you're doing. The other thing to notice, and the same goes for any of the ones that are TikTok famous, when I'm scrolling through TikTok sometimes, I do notice people, talking about the same clinics sort of over and over again. And I would just avoid a lot of those kind of places. The other reason being that many of them will also charge different prices for foreigners. Now, I can understand why some clinics do this, particularly if they have to hire special staff for their global customer base. For example, if you need to hire, say, a native Thai speaker for the Thai customers, then maybe there are additional costs associated with that, and I kind of get that. But a lot of these places are absolutely price gouging people based on what I've seen. And again, this is a generalization. I'm not directing this at any one particular clinic. Some of them, it's just a small markup, and in others it can be, twice the price kind of thing. And I don't really understand why the pricing would be that vastly different if you are just talking about having some consultations in a different language. So I think in general that can be a problem in the tourist areas for the TikTok clinics. or, the ones that you will see advertised a lot. Now, the other big thing to keep in mind is, what is your purpose in going to a skin clinic in the first place? Because there are differences between the cosmetic clinics, dermatological clinics, and then there are also the estheticians here as well. So if you want treatments like fillers, Botox, laser, and you don't have like an underlying skin condition, then those are the kind of things that most people here will go to a skin clinic for. And there's no issue with going to a skin clinic like that. They will most likely not be run by a dermatologist. So just be aware of that. The person doing your procedure, there'll probably be some nurses and there will be a doctor, but that doctor is not likely to be a dermatologist. And this is something that even Koreans are not always aware of, the difference between just a skin clinic, a pibukwa, and then what we call a pibukwa 의원, which is an actual dermatologist. And so the training is very different, and it's much longer for dermatologists than it is for general practitioners. So if you're just going for something cosmetic, then that, probably doesn't really matter. The one thing I would say is, if you're going to just a regular skin clinic, keep in mind that the Korean ideal of the perfect face may be quite different than what you would consider beautiful where you are from. So I think it's really important to keep this in mind before you agree to do any procedures that, for example, might alter the shape of your face. So some common examples I can think of include things like 애교살 filler, which is like the filler that people get under their eyes to give them like the cute pockets of fat. Now, if that's a look you really love, you're into K-pop, and this is something that your idols, the look that they have, and you want to replicate that, like obviously that's your beauty standard, that's totally fine. But if you are coming from a different country where that is not common, just be aware that it might look a little bit different. And also, not to put too fine a point on it, but it can differ in the outcome based on your race as well. So, it can look one way, for example, on, Asians, Koreans, and then it might look a little bit different if you are, say, Caucasian or whatnot, like I am. It can look a little bit different. Other examples I can think of include lip filler trends. So I know that the trends here are quite different than in other places, like, for example, Russia. So if you are a fan of like the Russian lip look and how they do filler, you may not love the way that Koreans are doing filler at the moment. It's got a really pillowy look to the upper lip, and it looks quite over the top. It's not a very natural look, is sort of where it's trending at the moment. So just make sure you've had a look at that you're aware of it, and that you are sure that that's the look that you want for yourself. It's really important to, I guess, take a look at the work of different injectors if you're considering doing that getting that done, just to make sure that you are happy with it. The other thing is things like jaw Botox, mandible reduction, and then if you were going for anything more invasive, be aware that the Korean beauty standard is not to have high cheekbones, and so a lot of the looks that are popular here will involve actually shaving down cheekbone for people that have like broader, larger cheeks and larger faces. So just be aware of all of that if you are going for any kind of treatments, is that it might not come out or may not end up looking like what you were thinking if the beauty ideal doesn't match up. So if you do have an actual skin condition, if you're looking for a treatment for something like rosacea, acne, like an ongoing type of skin issue that you have, that is when I think it would pay to actually go to a proper pibukwa 의원, which is a dermatologist, an actual dermatologist. And like I said, there are much fewer of these dermatologists than there are skin clinics in general, so you will probably have to search for one. So ways that you can do that is to make sure that the clinic has this designation on the front, and I will include this in the show notes so that you can look out for the Korean. The other way you can do it, if this is possible for you, the Korean Dermatologists Association actually provides information on dermatologists and hospitals nationwide on their website called Find finding dermatologists. So if you can use that online, if you've got a Korean friend or maybe a Korean teacher or something like that that can help you actually access this website, that's the way that you can actually go and find someone. So I think that's going to be more important if you do have like ongoing symptoms or an issue that is not going away that you would like help with. Say, for example, you had like a skin infection or rosacea or something like that, and it's not getting better even though you've had treatments at other skin clinics. That is the time at which I would make sure that you're going to see an actual dermatologist. Now, if you go to any of the bigger hospitals here, like the university hospitals, then those people that are working there at the pibukwa in the hospital are going to be dermatologists because they are practicing medicine in the hospital. And, you know, they will be seeing people for all kinds of different things, not just, you know, like the outward appearance of it, not just the cosmetic element of it. They are actually treating conditions of the skin. So that's another way. If you are on the national health insurance system here in Korea, you could go and do that. Be aware though that it is going to be more expensive in a lot of cases to get treatment from a university hospital or a bigger hospital. For anything, not just skin conditions, for anything. So if you are more like, oh, look, I don't really want filler, I don't really want Botox or anything like that, I would actually just love a really nice facial. In that case, what you should be looking for is what we call an aesthetic clinic here, which is an esthetician, and that is what they specialize in. So you can go along, they'll usually put a course together for you. If you're here for a little bit longer, you'd probably go once a week. And if you were, you know, just in town for, say, a couple of days and wanted to get this done, they could even just do like, you know, a one-off treatment or a couple of treatments for you. But in that kind of a clinic, an esthetician's clinic, what they'll be doing is cleansing your face for you. They will do any extractions that you need done. So if you've got blackheads or things like that, then they will develop an actual treatment for you in clinic that will target whatever issue, you know, you're experiencing. Say that's dryness or dullness or brightening or something like that, but it's going to be just on the basis of like a facial treatment, not actually using, you know, injectables or anything like that. Now, they do have machines and whatnot that they do use to enhance the results of your trip to the clinic, but it's not in the same league as, you know, injectables or whatnot. So I think I'm hoping that is like just a handy guide to some of the options that you've got available if you're in Korea, if you're living here, or if you are coming to the country on holidays, for example, and you're just like, oh, look, while I'm here, I might go and check it out. There are differences between the different clinics. The other one that I haven't really touched on, just because I don't think most people will be falling into this category, but if you are here for plastic surgery, then the plastic surgeon's offices do sometimes, I've seen, throw in like free sessions for their own patients with, you know, skin clinic type treatments. They'll do the red light therapy and things like that. Some of them have like outpatient dermatological clinics where you can go and get treated. I would say they are probably most likely to be on the more expensive side. So in general, from the cheapest to the most expensive, you're probably looking at like the esthetician's clinics, because obviously you're not going to be paying for things like Botox and filler. Then the clinics, then the next step up would be like an actual dermatologist. And again, whether the dermatologist is more expensive or not will depend on whether you have health insurance here in Korea. If you're going to a dermatologist, you're on the national health insurance scheme here, and you do actually have a skin issue, then you're going to get a lot of that back with your health insurance. But if you're just a tourist or whatnot, obviously that's not possible, so you will be paying full price. And if you go to one of the bigger university hospitals, then that's going to be probably the more expensive option for you. Plastic surgery offices, look, I'm not 100% sure on pricing or anything for any of that. If you are their customer, and you're going there for, say, other work that you're having done, then it probably pays to ask them if you can get some freebies or something like that thrown in. But yeah, so there is a difference between dermatologists and just doctors that practice at skin clinics. That's the other big thing. So if you are not seeing the results that you want, or you need more specialist attention or specialist help specific to a skin issue, that's the point in time at which I think it would pay to go and see a proper dermatologist at a Pibukwa Oiwan. So that is just a little bit of an overview. I hope that's helpful. If it is, I'd love for you to share this episode with anyone that you know is heading to Korea, or if you're living in Korea. And I'm going to finish it up here for this week. I will be back in your ears next week. And until then, I will see you on Style Story.